Hi there, guys. How are you? My name is Marcelo Costa. I'm from the architecture team here, technology, IT, solutions architecture. I work in IT department, and I'm here today to talk with an amazing person. She's one of the most influential people in the world when it comes to data analysis, data management, and extracting valuable information from data. I'm bringing Fabiane Nardon. She's a very knowledgeable person. She's Brazilian. She works in Brazil, but she's worldly known. Fabiane, be welcome, and let's let's hear from you.
Hello, thank you, Marcelo and Clubbing people. I'm very happy to be here with you today. Well, as we're going to talk about data, I will talk a little bit about how I joined this area. I studied computer science. My master and PhD is in this area, but I've always worked with large systems, lots of data. And I've worked a lot in the healthcare department. And 10 years ago, I started working seriously with data science. And 10 years ago, we didn't have data science. So probably some of you don't know what this is today, which is the topic of our conversation here. But for those who know a little bit about the topic, 10 years ago, nobody knew what data science was. So when I started, we started when it was a new area. We had to learn everything. Many of the things we talk about today, we created system at the time to do these things. And this 10-year experience working with data science gave me a good view of what we can do in this area, what is a buzzword. Everybody says that it will solve all the problems. That's not really the case. It's quite an interesting experience to work in this area and to understand how it really works. The company I work today, Tail, is a company that processes one of the largest database that we have. So you have an idea, we process 3.5 billion new registers every day. So huge figures, and our challenge is to be able to get insights and information from this data. So for those working in technology, that's a great challenge because we have lots of things to learn. And those working in the business, and want to know how their lives will change with that. I think this is a quite interesting experience. Let's see if we can talk a little bit about that, Marcelo.
Sure, let's do that. The goal here today is to show to our fellows here that that's a buzzword in the market. Data is like the new oil, the new way that companies will make money. And if you take a look at the history of the big companies in the world that are in highlighted positions from the financial perspective, they are companies that know how to deal with data. They know how to manage data, the information that they capture, the information they manage. So to start, Fabiani, my first question, of course, is about data, about innovation, and how these things may change people's life. Give us a little about like a Twitter, like an explanation of what is data science. Because many people talk about it, you hear it all the time, but it's like you said, not always we know exactly what it is. So why don't you tell us a little what is science data? Like in a very short concept, you talk about trillions of data. So how is it?
That's a great question. I will not be able to answer in a tweet because it will be too superficial, but it will be a Facebook post, okay? So, data science is the following. I think the best definition on a tweet would be it is for you to get three things together, three technologies. The first, big data. I think everybody has heard about big data, which is to get several data from different sources, either your payroll system, get it together with the zip code system and the sales system, and to get all these data together. This is called big data because usually these are large volume data compared to what we used before this technology is available. And there are many technologies behind so we can work with that. So the first part of data science is data, be it large data or small data, but they are data. The second technology is statistics, which is not something new. We learned that in school. So you get statistics and data together. And the third thing, which made things much more interesting is artificial intelligence. So data science is using these three technologies, big data, statistics, and artificial intelligence, to be able to understand the data and try to get some information from that. Oftentimes, this is a prediction. You predict when a machine will break down, will need maintenance, how much you're going to sell, what's the best time to put a product on the shelf. These are predictions. And sometimes it's just information about the past. Finding out what is the profile of people that buy a certain product, things like that. So data science is getting these three technologies together: statistic, big data, and AI. But for projects, you can use data science just using big data and statistics. Many problems are solved without artificial intelligence. Some people think that for data science you must use AI. That's not true. You can use sometimes just statistics and data. And sometimes instead of big data, you can use small data and artificial intelligence. Also, because the concept of big data is not a concept that you have more than a tera, it's big data. So there's no limit. So it's a concept of having a great volume of data from different sources. But you can do data science using AI and a database that is not a large one. It can be a small one, and that's still data science. So data science gets together some existing technologies, AI, big data, and statistics within a concept on how to work with that so you can have some advantages and so you can get knowledge that used to be very difficult to get. And this technology and concept, data science, has to do with what we call a data-driven culture, right? The buzzword, data-driven culture. That is essentially all the decisions that you're going to make in a company is supported by data, past ones or models that will enable you to predict the future, and then you can make better decisions that are not based on your gut feelings or
It's nice,
but rather by
Fabiane.
data that
Here in
support this
Klabin,
intelligence.
we have a data-driven architecture. We work with many technologies to do that. Probably you saw that we have many facilities around the country and in South America, and our architecture is data-driven. And it's very interesting because it's not only about big data volumes. The volumes of data, they are not that big if you compare it with retail or banking institutions, but it's strategic because it's our production. We produce cellulose and pulp, paper, so we need basically these data to make business decisions. So when we talk about these three pillars, the three pillars that you mentioned, and one of the expectations that we want to have is how to get insights from this data, whatever if they are small or big. In your experience, what can you suggest? Imagining a manufacturing site like Klabin, we have many manufacturing sites, many different business interests and goals. We have the same business, but we have different goals. What do you see in terms of data insights? We are following a path of collection, smart collection of data in some machines using IoT. What would you recommend for us in that sense? Like everybody in the process get aware of, that can think of. We need to think about this and that. What kind of solutions can you think about? What's your suggestion?
Marcelo, this is a very good question because I think one thing that is very common to happen in companies is that you start with data collection because it makes more sense. You collect data non-stop, but you still don't have a problem to solve. And data science, the most difficult thing is when the data scientist gets a huge data bank and say, see what you can do with that. That is very difficult. Data science needs to start from a clear problem because it's much easier for you to think if the data is stored in a way that you can solve problems, if you can get an external source of data. So it's very difficult to start just with data and start getting things from there. The good thing is that everybody has problems, and with data, you may solve them more easily. Example, talking about machines. Maybe one of the problems you want to solve is when you need to do the maintenance of your machines. Clear problem. What is the best time? Send me an alert or a warning when it's the best time to do maintenance. I don't understand anything about industry. I work with digital marketing. It's completely different. So it's just a guess here, okay, of what I would do if I would solve this problem. So I think you have sensors and you have telemetrics for the machines. So maybe if I look at the past, I can compare when there were problems with these machines in the past, and maybe I could create a model or an algorithm that would be able to see signs that these machines had before they broke down. And then I could train the model to learn from that. And in the future, when it's about to break, I'm able to detect the signs, maybe an increasing temperature or in the shaking. I don't know. It's just a guess, but I think it could be something like that.
Actually, it's perfect what you said because that's exactly the road that we're following in Klabin. We have many interests that not only has to do with collection, data collection or telemetric decisions. We don't want to be only predictive. Of course, it's important to be predictive, but the company, it's a company that is always trying to be a sustainable company, environmentally friendly. We have a big project here in Klabini. The name is Superar and is being digitalized. And one of the main objectives there is to make it to get these reach, these quality stamps, these certifications more tangible and that can be digitally achievable. And that talks to what you're saying. What can we do to improve my life here and the quality of what the company delivers so I can reach a certification, an international certification? Because it's not only a company, we care about sustainability and the environment. So we need to be really focused on that. So this opinion you have, like thinking since taking from collection, see how can I use this, if I can have machine learning algorithms for this, or IoT, that's fantastic. So Fabienne, my next question would be, tell us a little bit, because when we talk about artificial intelligence, for example, or machine learning, what's the difference in these two areas? What are they aimed at? I mean, what problems they are trying to solve? Machine learning and artificial intelligence, because people get confused about that. They are not the same thing, and they have different purposes, right?
Actually, artificial intelligence is like the large area. It encompasses machine learning. Machine learning is one of the techniques used in AI to be able to solve problems. So let's try to, for those that are not in IT, let's try to explain the difference. Artificial intelligence is nothing more than making a computer behave or make decisions that seem intelligent when this intelligence would be closer to what we would expect from a human thinking. Artificial intelligence is not something new, it's old. It started being studied a long time ago.
And yeah, and today is a discipline, right? That all the world is focused on that.
Many years ago, the whole world is watching exactly. There are governments, the Chinese government made a strategic decision to become a leader in artificial intelligence in the coming years. It's close to be. If you see, some years ago in these international contests on artificial intelligence, the Americans were always the winners. Now we have six, seven Chinese all the time. So it's a decision many countries are making to invest heavily on that.
We know that. We know, for example, Bradesco, they have BIA, which is a bot. There's a lot of marketing on it. I don't know the technology itself, but they trained the artificial intelligence and it's good.
Right, so trying to answer the question between the difference of machine learning and AI, we should look at the history of artificial intelligence. When it started being made and thought about, there was a time that it was heavily invested on expert systems. The expert systems, we thought that if an expert was interviewed, we would get from the thinking of the experts all the possible rules, and then a system would implement these rules. It is as if I interview a physician and I say, I would like to do an automatic diagnosis of a broken foot. And then what do you look? Well, I look if I press here, it hurts, I check the x ray, the bone, and then people would interview the experts and try to get the rules into a computer. So if the foot hurts, or if you do this or that, this was a system of AI from the past. There was huge investment on that. We thought it would change the world, but it was a failure. It failed because the experts found it hard to tell all the rules that they used to make a decision. And then there was the time that we call the winter of artificial intelligence. It doesn't work. People stopped investing because the results were not good, not helpful. And so, at the time, people that were researching artificial intelligence lost their investment. Then they had the idea, if we cannot get the intelligence from human experts, what if we ask computers or let computers learn? So we give examples to the computer, they learn and try to understand how they learn, as if you were teaching a child. So there's this child, doesn't know anything, and you start showing images and pictures, and you show a picture, say, this is a flower, then a different picture, this is a car, a different flower picture, this is also a flower, this is also a car. It comes a time that the child will understand what is a flower, what is the car. And if you show a new photo of a car, they will say, this is a car, not a flower. The algorithms, the machine learning technology is exactly that. I gave you a very simple example. There are more complex examples, but it's to let computer learn on its own, gradually from examples that it receives, data that it receives. So it gets that data, assesses them, and learn. And that's why it's called machine learning. The machine learns. That's a sub area of artificial intelligence, and that's the difference. You have a bigger area that encompasses many things, including machine learning.
See that? I see that. Okay, we're almost in the end of our talk. And what would be the last message? First of all, thank you very much for being here. Um, Thinking on the industry and where we need to collect data, we need to turn them into business insights that can help us. What would be the recommendation you will leave us?
Marcelo, I think the main thing you have done, you understand the importance of that. That's the first step, and it's a very good step. The second thing is as you start to organize the data, the ideal is to think that they will be used for a long time. So you need to have a good data catalog, you need to be able to find them and work in that in all the areas. Usually we start a specific area, but there are different departments. The marketing department, which is where I work, human resources, all these departments can benefit from data. So creating a data culture, we need to understand the specific problems from these departments that can be solved with data and try to apply these techniques. And unfortunately, Marcelo, the time went by very quickly. We had lots of things to show you. I don't want to use too much of the time we had set aside, but I just want to say something that I saw on a large story on Business Review, Harvard Business Review, and it said that AI is not going to replace managers, but managers that use AI will replace those that do not. And I think that is a good summary of what is going to happen in the coming years.
That's so cool, Fabienne. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for being here with us. It was fantastic. Definitely something that we can talk and talk about this, and we need to talk more. I'll invite you again to talk for an hour. You're someone who I admire. Your knowledge is huge, and I'm pretty sure that you can help us a lot here. So thank you very much for being here. And if you have something else to say, please feel free, because it will be nice to hear from you.
I just want to thank you. Maybe one day I can get to know clubbing face to face once the pandemic is over. But I would like to thank you very much for inviting me. I love this chat and I hope we can meet soon face to face. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone.